Hey, I recently said in an interview that Nightwing is actually my favorite superhero, and I wanted to explain that because I know I talk a lot about Superman. So I wanted to talk about Nightwing and the concept of narrative possibility. Made myself an egg there. That's what the cut was. That wasn't just a John Green style, make sure you're paying attention cut. I just wanted to talk about Nightwing briefly because I think you have to look at it this way. Stories are structure. Stories are building. And concepts are the materials you use to build stories. A character like Superman is often condemned as being boring because his inherent central concepts, if you are being cynical, aren't very exciting. But Batman is thought of as being exciting and compelling, and that's because his inherent central concepts are always looked at in a way that grounds them. Now, Batman, inherent central concept, obsessed, super wealthy, super good looking, mega trained, genius with a dark side, who's dysfunctional, a tragic past, a bad childhood. He deals with a colorful array of villains in the most corrupt city in the United States of America. He also wears a bat costume. He has a range of specialized equipment for any situation, and he is the most dominant physical fighter on Earth. Oh, and he has personal relationships with a lot of his villains who, conceptually, can be related back to him in meaningful ways. Despite a bat and a Joker, or a bat and a penguin, a bat and a giant crocodile man, a bat and a killer ventriloquist dummy, they don't seem connected, but conceptually they bring back to the core of obsession, fixation, and mental illness. That is the theme amongst Batman's enemies. I've now finished eating my egg. You start with, he's super wealthy. So you sort of get to he's super fucked up, and then that gives him the opportunities to get training and equipment. It all builds very one thing leads to another in your mind. He's a crazy person who fights crazy villains. Oh, this villain might affect him this way. This villain might affect him that way. And suddenly, any good writer, or any writer worth their salt, can think of 100 Batman stories. That's when you introduce the character Robin. Remember everything I just said about Batman? Just say now, this guy has an apprentice. Immediately there's an explosion of narrative potential because that character, Batman, with everything you know about him already in your head, having an apprentice seems insane. The apprentice isn't as well trained, won't be able to handle these villains, will be going on adventures with Batman and learning from him. You have the opportunity to do father-son stuff. You have the opportunity to do rebellious teenager stuff. You suddenly have this giant pile of potential stories that you didn't originally have. Of course, one of the potential stories of the Batman core concept is, what if he had an apprentice? Well, he does. And that's when you get into the Robins. And you can see my video on the Robins I made in college while I was drunk right here. But one of the things that is just so fucking mind-blowing is that when you get to Nightwing, Dick Grayson, the original Robin, who left and is now his own superhero, Superman is my favorite. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. Superman is, I think, the superhero that's the most interesting. But when you talk about the best idea for a superhero, it's Batman, but not quite as good or tough, but almost maybe. Younger, better looking, different attitude, happier guy, friendlier guy. Immediately that changes the way he would interact with Batman's world. And this is the thing that's the best about Nightwing. The thing that makes him a genius idea and a big idea, which is that if you take stuff away from him, he becomes more interesting. Oh, he's a raised rich kid. You take away, you take away the money. Suddenly he's on his own. It's a Batman figure that doesn't have money. Already, that's like a great idea. That's why the Bloodhaven run in the early 2000s was so fucking good. It was like, what's Nightwing gonna do trying to be the Batman of his own city? You take away Gotham. You take away Batman's villains. Suddenly, by taking away Batman's villains, Nightwing is now overqualified to deal with most villains. And how's that gonna play out? But not only can you take things away from him, Batman's love. You make them fight. Suddenly, Nightwing and Batman, do you remember at the end of Bruce Wayne Murderer? I don't know if you read this because you're not like me and you're not, I don't know if you're a big comic book fan, but their physical fight was like I was crying when I read it. But again, you don't need to be a comic fan to appreciate the story element here. And I'm getting distracted and I have to go to my office. But I wanted to finish by saying that also by adding things. By leaving him alone, he's interesting, and there's a lot of opportunities for stories. But also, by subtracting things, he's interesting, and there's a lot of opportunities for stories. And then, if you add things, there's a lot of opportunities for stories. You can make him Batman. You can give him a Robin. You can give him his own mobile. Who doesn't want to see a Nightwing mobile? It's suddenly like, you can give him his own Joker. You can add villains from other comics and bring them in. How will they interact with Batman? Fuck that. Batman would just beat them. How will they interact with a guy they have a shot against beating? He's an underdog. But at the same time, you believe absolutely in his competence. The character is fun to write because he makes jokes and is vulnerable emotionally. He is essentially Batman 2.0. He's a lateral move between the Batman character and the Superman character. And it's so smart, and he also fucks. That dude gets laid. So Batman doesn't fucking do that. So it just offers you so many options in the types of stories you wanna tell. And that's why I really love Nightwing. And I really wish they hadn't just rebooted everything and made him not Batman, because I think that story deserved a better ending. And again, if you follow me on YouTube, you're like, what the fuck is this? It's just him talking. I'm sorry. I promise girls will act out my stuff soon. Please go see American Ultra. There's still time, and have a good day.